Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the two-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasing the Racing, episode 118. And for the first time since episode 100, I believe, it's just me and Dom. So
shut up, man.
Like the good old days. So no guest today, but we've got so much to to talk about. We've both been racing ourselves, and obviously there's lots happened, and there's lots sort of to preview as well with the Grand Prix and BSB and all kinds of things. So first of all, how's things? Have you been up to much this week?
Mate, I'm getting emotional. This feels like the proper beginning, the rawness of it all. They are proper podcasting. Yeah, I feel like we should introduce you properly. The world's sexiest teacher in the world, Christopher. Are you still the teacher?
Yeah.
How long have you not been at work now? Is it like 18 episodes ago now? That's 18 weeks, kids.
No, in terms of, well, it's some holidays at the moment, but I think I've got another 2 weeks and then I'm back on the 6th. So
Jesus wept. I'll tell you what, there's another thing that we've all been doing. Living with COVID for 2 years.
I know.
How terrifying is that? COVID's like one of those words now that everyone goes, oh, for fuck's sake, don't they? They just shrug it off almost.
I know. I will. By the time this podcast goes out, we'll have already had it, but we're recording this on Monday night. Yeah, Monday night. And we actually got our first North Yorkshire Road Racing Supporters Club, which is where me and Dom met. It's a club that we're both sponsored by.
That sounded a bit fruity. Yeah, that's where.
It's basically one of our sponsors, and the idea of the club is we'll have like sort of chat shows. All the money that gets raised goes back to
the riders.
It used to be about 8 riders when I first joined, and then the family's grown, and I think there's about 16 of us all together. But basically all the money gets redistributed, and it's great for sort of contacts, and not many people around our sort of area race bikes, so it's great to have like a community where we'll all go. And if you are listening and you live anywhere like within an hour or two from North Allerton, it's great to be involved. So please get yourself along. They've got a Facebook group, Instagram, all kinds. It's NYRRSC, North Yorkshire Road Racing Supporters Club. So a little plug. That's for one of our sponsors. But unfortunately, because of COVID, we haven't actually had any evenings for the last 2 years, and all the funds that get raised from the evenings get redistributed. So none of the riders are actually sponsored by the club this year for that reason. But we're hoping to get it back up and running, have a few good prosperous nights, and then that'll get the ball rolling again. So like I said, you'll have missed the first one by the time this podcast goes out, but keep in touch because we usually have one like once a month.
I was about to say, who they've got on at the moment?
For our first one, it's all about Oliver's Mount.
It is, which has been cancelled.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there was due to have 4 meetings this year. They managed to get the first one and then had to cancel the middle 2, but they were hoping to run the final one, and unfortunately that's been cancelled. I seen that on the UK Club Sport magazine a few weeks ago, and it's just breaking news. Oliver's Mount Gold Cup axed, which means it's a big blow for the club because they were basically hoping to get that meeting, make a few quid from it, which would then get them through the winter. And they kind of known that if they got a decent crowd, that would sort of do them over. But the fact it's been cancelled is a huge blow financially.
And if you've been living under a rock, it's been cancelled because of basically the buildings were condemned, weren't they? They were deemed unsafe, and it's a case of now a lot of people. There's a lot of questions and not many answers at the moment. And the good thing about this North Yorkshire night is we were going to start getting questions. Now, did we have the guests lined up before it got cancelled or after?
Before.
It was before. So at that point, it was going to be the guests coming to North Allerton there, and it was all going to be, this is what the plan is and everything like that. But the mad thing is, at the moment, a lot of people are asking the question, going, well, why couldn't they just run it without the paddock? And to be fair, we don't know yet, and we're going to hopefully find out tomorrow exactly what's happened, why things aren't running, and we'll be able to report back on the next episode, which will be good.
And just a thing for people in this sort of area to keep an eye on, I think we're looking to have a fundraiser evening. I think it's in either December or January up in, I think it's like Anniquay. And,
right.
So yeah, please keep an eye. Our friend and sponsor Dale is putting that together from the plough-in, And
I'm literally looking at you with a blank expression.
you mustn't read any text, because I've had a text from asking him.
I'm just useless, Chrissy, man. Nothing's changed in 2 years.
But anyway, that evening's to raise money. So if you are interested, keep an eye on that, because we'll be up there doing something at some point. But yes, obviously shame for the club this year, and that leaves there's only Cookstown and Macau left on the calendar for like road racing this year, really, isn't it?
As far as Cookstown's still going ahead, which is absolutely brilliant. Oversubscribed with entries, which is fantastic. You know, the fact that Armoy, I tell you what, did I really go into depth about Armoy?
Not really, no.
Not particularly. I tell you what, well, one of my favourite things about Armoy was the fact of, like, I'd love a Rich Energy. That'd be great. There, you know, a bit of a plug. We're still shamelessly corporate, aren't we, Chrissy? You got to get the plugs in. I like your style. But yeah, Armoy, it was a case of the way they were advertising it on social media and everything like that. It was going to be like, oh, COVID, and it was all going to be, you have to stand in this and that and do that. What was brilliant is that they ran the meeting and the crowds were brimming. Like, I've been to Armoy a couple of times, and the crowd hasn't been as big as that. And it was well policed, mind, you know what I mean? I'm not grassing anyone up. It was the fact that it was well controlled. No one was taking the piss, in my opinion. Far from it. But it was nice that after you were riding around, it was like a full audience of people, and it's going to get replicated at Cookstown. And, you know, the Irish scene massively needs that. But, hey, I'll tell you what, speaking of that, you've been down at Cadwell Park. What was that like for you then? Was that a full... the photos, it looked absolutely bouncing.
Yeah, speaking of big crowds, there was... Cadwell's always a really popular one, and the fact that everyone's sort of congregating this, like, around the start-finish straight and around the mountain, rather than, like, spread out all around the track. But to be fair, all the way around the track, there was a good crowd. But yeah, I don't know the numbers, but there was a big turnout, great atmosphere, and yeah, it was a really good weekend, to be honest. Racing was as good as it always is at Cadwell, and yeah, good. Yeah, I think everyone would agree it was a good weekend.
Oh, without a doubt. I tell you what, before we delve into these, I tell you what, we've gone proper old school. People don't even... I'm actually more nervous about this episode than it's been so easy talking to guests, hasn't it? You just sit them down, and when you invite someone in, it's all about them, and it's almost watered off a duck's back for us now, isn't it? So when you actually got to sit there and do a bit of journalism, it kind of shit hits the fan, doesn't it, Chrissy? But it's a case of I kind of need to go backwards a little bit, really. As I normally do, like my lap times. No, but no, it's a case of going back to East Fortune. I didn't really go into that. I think I was doing a bit of tyre testing. Obviously, I'm going to try and keep that as on the hush as quiet as I can, because I want to do a fair few more before I get me mind fully wrapped around it. But I tell you one thing though, right? These tyres that I've been testing have just totally and utterly melted my head, Chrissy. It is just unbelievably melted my head. It's the fact of, like, I went in total skeptic about the thing, totally and utterly skeptic, thinking, right, they're not a Pirelli, they're not a Dunlop, these are going to be pretty, shite, it's like, that was my thing. And that is based upon no one else is running them. When you think, if you get a good product out there, it's like an iPhone, isn't it? People have iPhones because they're the best, kind of thing. Would you not agree with that? People go with the best product, don't they?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
On that side of basis. And I went into this tyre test going, no one else is running them, they've got to be crap. I tell you what, absolutely blew my mind. And because it was just like, I was riding around on these things going, these are working brilliantly. Like, me and Jamie Coward, and I've got to give a shout out to Jamie Coward and the KDS team. And also, I've got to apologise to Kevin, who owns the team. I think on one episode many moons ago, I totally bollocksed up and said, Dean Harrison's got the lap record on a Super Twin. It's not, it's Jamie on his bike. So I do apologise about that. Eventually got that out there, Kevin. But no, Jamie Coward turned up, and that was after his unfortunate, he had a little crash at Anglesey. Did you see the photo?
We had it on, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago.
Of course we did, yeah. So Jamie, he was all right, but the bike took the utter brunt of it. So Kevin and the lads went out for a weekend just to get things going. And, arguably Jamie is on... Well, he's on the best Super Twin in the paddock. He's definitely on the best Kawasaki Super Twin in the paddock. He's known Metzler's for years. He's a podium man around the TT. He's a podium man around the Northwest. The lad wins races on Super Twins and other bikes. He's a proven winner. And went out on these new tyres. We were there for a tyre test, and I was actually on the way up in the van looking at the entry list going, for fuck's sake, this is totally... My weekend's over, I might as well just go home. And a saving grace was having a fast lad like Jamie there. And we were banging out. I think me and Jamie were like 2 seconds, like 2 seconds under the lap record. Again, it was just absolutely banging out 101s. He was banging out a 101. I was banging out a 101. Jamie's was a lower 101, granted, but the fact that never been on these before, it was bloody impressive. And there was a couple of like short circuit specialists there on the 600. And I went, right, we're going to slap them on the 600. I was up there with the counting team, both on their 6 and twin. And we put them on. And same thing again, we were just playing around with tyre pressure and stuff like that. But like, pace around there, so like a couple of like BSB lads were there who used to do it, but they can't afford to do it. So the pace and like the lap records, like we were lap record pace on these tyres, and I'm thinking I was 2 seconds quicker on these tyres. Now arguably I haven't been on the counting bike, and I've done a lot of there's a few variables in that, to be fair, but the fact is the tyres worked, and I wasn't getting at the point of the edge of the tyre going, that's it, I've hit its limit. I'm actually going around going, there's more. I was having a couple of moments, but really, what tyre won't you have a moment on? That's the true side of it. And yeah, it was a total mind melt. I was driving home like that, just going, what happened this weekend? And it was definitely brilliant, absolutely definitely brilliant. But no,
do you know, for people that maybe don't really understand like why we're having this conversation about tyres, do you want to quickly explain for say the TT, how do tyres work in terms of for the top riders? Like how do the riders or the teams choose which tyres to go with?
It's a case of like, the thing is, we're sheep in this game. You know, we are utterly sheep. So you've had a different situation really, because you've been under a controlled tyre series. So really, you ran Dunlops in when you're on a 125, weren't you? Mm-hmm. So that was the last time. Have you ever ridden on a different tyre since then?
Just the odd things, but not properly, no. Not
properly, not like push to the limits and stuff like that. You see, that'll be dead interesting, that, because it would be good, because like there's Peter Hickman, for example. He's a Dunlop man. So he thinks, he knows that tyre's better, but they do a lot more tyre development within Dunlop. But now Dunlop have specialist tyres like that actually give to the top riders. You know, it's tyre development, and you're going to give it to the best lad to do the job on, aren't you? So
like say the TT, though, there's a couple of riders that are the Dunlop test riders, so they'll be on like a deal with Dunlop and get sort of better, like special tyres, if you like.
Yeah.
Then, but if you're not offered a special deal, is it a case of you just have to pay full whack?
Yeah.
And you choose basically, so you can maybe test there's about 4 different manufacturers that you could possibly try, and you pick which ones you get the best feeling for, which you get best tyre life for, that sort of thing.
Yeah, totally. And the thing is, like I say, we're sheep in this game, and it's like one of my perfect examples. I can't remember what year it was in BSB, but it was either a Kawasaki or a BMW, wasn't it? There was no other bike there. You know, you look at the best bike on the grid and you go for that. Now, the TD is being based around 2 tyres, the Metzler and the Dunlop. You know, I'd say Dean Harrison won the Dunlop Senior last time out on Metzlers, but he's gone from Metzlers over to Dunlops. So there's always that bit of a tyre war really going on between them two. And really, you pull up on the grid and you go, well, they're banging out, Hickman's banging out a 35. And you think, well, the tyre can do it. Yes, his tyres are slightly different, but that technology does filter down rapidly, and they're on site doing it. Now, when it gets to the rules of the roads, you can't run anything. You know, you could put a Bridgestone on, you could put a Maxxis, you could put a fucking Kender on for all that, for all they care. It's just about having that tyre technology to go and do it. Now, that's the thing. It's a bit like every time you go to the TD, it's 1 year out your life. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that was melting my head. You know, the tyres are brilliant. They really are brilliant. I haven't done a lot of riding on them, but they are absolutely fantastic. And people will be like, just spit the fucking name out of the tyre, but I don't want to yet, you know what I mean? But seriously though, the way I got on that, I could have put a blindfold on. I'm not you, you know what I mean? When it comes to short circuit riding, far from it. I'm not your pace, you know what I mean? I'm working at it, but I'm not your pace. It'd be great to slap you on them and just see what your feedback is, because you know the absolute edge of a Pirelli. You know what they're doing, and you know what the feedback is. So for you to hop on them tyres, now I know Barry's ridden these tyres, and Barry Teasdale says it's probably the best tyres ever ridden. And Barry Teasdale's like fast as fuck, there's a bit of a side note. Barry Teasdale's selling his bike. That's a damn bloody shame, isn't it?
Right, just every year he sells his bike and he gets another one.
I hope he gets another one anyway, because mid-season you just think, oh God, Barry will be listening to this, but I hope you get back on a bike soon. But I know Barry's a huge fan of these tyres. But like you say, it's about going with something that's not, to be blunt, hasn't been tried or tested around the Isle of Man.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know they've ran tyres, people have ran those tyres before, but not at a 135 pace.
Mm-hmm.
That's the true side of it. And, you're going there to get results. The tyres will be good, but it's about getting self-belief and self-confidence into the rubber, innit?
Mm-hmm.
But a tyre working around the Isle of Man is totally different than to tarmac. Yes, it is tarmac, but you've got potholes, bumps, jumps, you're off the ground landing, the carcass is moving a fair bit. And, a lot of people have had problem with overheating on tyres, blistering, delamination, everything like that. The TD is the ultimate test for man and machine, period.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going there and willing to... The tyre's safe, the tyre's mint, but it's about getting the speeds.
Mm-hmm.
And you're only going to learn that by doing that yourself.
Yeah.
And, it's something that I'm looking forward to being a part of.
Mm-hmm.
I really am. And it's and the good thing is, these lot have been absolutely amazing with us. And people are running them. People are doing amazing jobs on them. And yeah.
So basically, you've got the next few months to sort of do some club racing and try out a different type of tyre to see if you might like to take it to the TT next year.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That is exactly
we'll keep you posted on that anyway. And also...
one more thing. Sorry, East Fortune. Boris Stroud put me on a sidecar. Thank you so much. Absolutely love sidecar racing. I've got to get that out there. Thank you so much.
How did you get on it?
No, Boris just enjoys it. Now, Boris Stroud's actually a lad who I think it's something ridiculous. I think he owns 40 outfits, sidecars, and he just floods them out. He just wants sidecars to keep going. He's a wealthy gentleman, self-made gentleman, and he just loves the sport that much, and he sponsors everyone really in the sidecar world, and it's good to have someone like that in it.
Oh, cool.
There we are.
And anyway, also you were down racing CRMC this weekend down in Castle Coombe.
Oh,
I heard did it get rained off on Saturday?
It didn't. I mean, I think they're the worst conditions I've ever ridden on, and basically on bicycle tyres, a 120 rear and a 110 front. People are aquaplaning all over the place. I'll tell you what, there's a name I've got to put a shout out. There's a lad called Dave Tetley, right? In the dry, he's getting faster in the dry, but my God, in the wet, no one can get near him. I mean, he pushes like an absolute animal. It's brilliant to watch him. No one can get near him. They might as well just hand the trophy over to him. He's that quick on a classic bike in the rain. It is absolutely brilliant. I'll tell you, I've got a list of people that talk about with the CRMC, and everyone's always up for a laugh around there. But I've got to quickly get that out. I've got Harley Rushton, who's riding. He's like Jamie Coward's teammate on the classic side of things, and Harley is an absolute demon on a motorcycle when it comes to those K4s and the 500s. He's been flying around Castle Coombe this weekend. He got the lap record in the 350, and then we've got Kelly, his sister. She was absolutely wrote off on the Saturday night, but you've never met a funnier woman in your life. And then Alex Sinclair, he's another one who's a demon in the wet. He actually beat Dave Tetley in the wet, and it's his local circuit, and he knows the place like the back of his hand. And I'm actually going to spar with him, riding an RC30 at the end of the month.
Hey, that would be brilliant. I know on this podcast we've asked a few people the dream tracks, and it's pretty much always Spa. So because I think Joe Ackroyd's just been out, hasn't he?
He has just been out. We're trying to get him on actually, and he's what's his crack tonight?
Out with the missus, I think, tonight.
Oh, they are schmoozing, keeping the balance life. But no.
Just, do you know he's just got married?
Shut up, man.
Yeah, so congratulations.
I thought he was always married.
No, I think he's only recently got married, I believe. I hope
so.
I've got that right. Yeah. No, I think he's just got married.
Oh, congratulations, Joe, if you listen to this. There we go. And I'll quickly round this off. Joe Barton, and obviously the real Slim Shady, John Cronshaw. Big shout out to him. And obviously, you kids remember you got to rest on Wednesdays. Got to rest on Wednesdays. It's a bit of an inside joke. There's only literally 6 people listening to this laughing right now. And how many listens do we get? A fair few, and there's only 6 laughing.
So how was your weekend? Results good? Happy?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it took me a while to get going. But the next round after, we've got a couple of class lap records as well, which is good. And the sun came out on Sunday.
What classes did you get?
The air-cooled 500 on the Yamaha. Now, we're developing this Yamaha, and It's going so well, and I think it's done like 24 races on a classic engine without being touched, nothing. And the idea behind this Yamaha is to go beat the patterns, like John McGuinness and stuff like that, and whoever. Right? I'm hoping John McGuinness is going to be on that pattern next year. So if the Classic TT should run by then, please, for the love of God, I hope it runs. But it's a twin 8-valve overhead, which is the same engine design as a pattern, and it's just getting the reliability out of it to keep it going. And really, it's looking promising, looking good. And we're just playing with the chassis. It's like a K4. It's got loads of confidence. But the mad thing is, any slight changes on it, it does dramatically change it. But the Davies lads are just pumping absolutely everything into that bike. We're talking dry clutches, like different swinging arms, the lot. They are really going for it. But they've got a small tolerance to play with because they've got to keep within the rules. Yeah. Because they've got to base it it's a replica of the original design. And obviously they've got them slight little windows that they can play with. And they're doing an amazing job of it. Absolutely amazing job.
And did you just race in the dry or did you have some wet races as well?
No, in the wet race. But you don't change tyres, you see.
Right, just cut slicks.
Yeah, cut slicks. You put that one set of tires and off you go. So it's like it was definitely sketchy. It was definitely sketchy. But
roughly, what sort of money are the bikes worth that you ride?
Oh God, 30 to 40 grand.
Wow.
And you think, well, bear in mind, like John Cront, like a G50 is around about 60 grand. Like Joe Barton's bikes, like the Midovation bikes, they're like a short stroke engine. One of them's 15 grand an engine. And Joe Barton, who's like the lap record holder in the 500 class, him and Molnar's going around in a Norton. These bikes are like 60, 70, and they are absolutely thrashing the fuck. I mean, you should see the corner speed of these lads. There's a shout out. Dan Cooper was there. And even Dan Cooper he's packing in this year.
Right.
Did you know?
No, I didn't know.
Oh yeah, he was telling us what a career that man has had, and he's just his lad's getting into the O'Varley side of it, and I think them two are going to buy one each and just have a go. And hey, fuck, Rossi's on one. You seen that?
Yeah,
on the O'Varleys. That O'Varley scene is taking off and off and off. Even jumping back to Cadwell, you even had a race round there.
They seemed to be out for hours. Like after all the racing was done, we're in hospitality and like had food and whatever. And then it felt like as it was getting dark, you could still hear the engines going round. So yeah, that had loads of track time.
I think that is a brilliant system though, like because it was run by British Mini Bikes, wasn't it? And then like you had like Kyle Ride, Brad Rigg, you had the Paul Bird Motorsport team getting involved with these young'uns.
Well, it's good to get those connections going between the young people just starting out and the sort of BSB teams, and even if it's as much as just having the phone number or following each other on social media or whatever, it's that connection that it's priceless for the kids that are just starting out.
100%.
And it's great for British racing. At the end of the day, that's what we all want, like the next generation to come through strong. So getting them started early on some like safe little bikes like that, it's brilliant.
Because like the O'Varley scene is like, were they all O'Varleys in that race? No, but I meant like,
honest, but yeah, I think so.
But like that style of bike though, so it's either the Buccis or the O'Varleys. But like British Mini Bikes have been working their arses off for years. Like Peter Hickman got a hold of this, 2-3 years ago, and it's just growing strength to strength to strength, hasn't it? And it's just like you say, to see that, has that ever happened at a race event like that before?
Don't think so, no, nothing like that.
Saying that, you know what I mean? Like Stuart Higgs was doing a full riders briefing with him, and it's like the whole atmosphere. It looked brilliant, and the fact that that's come together, brilliant, like fluently, is more important. Like you say, it's important to keep that talent coming through.
And
but it sounds like you were sick of it, like hours and hours and hours of it.
I didn't watch it. I didn't actually see any of it, unfortunately. I was just busy in the evenings, but I could just hear it in the background.
Aye.
But yeah, speaking of Cadwell, overall it was a really good weekend race, and I watched all the superbike racing. Hickman, all year Hickman's look strong at times, but just for whatever reason, when it's come to the races, hasn't really been converting his pace. And this weekend he really took advantage and did the double and then followed Jason home in the last one. So massive points, like what's that, 70 points over a weekend. Really good for him.
As a huge Hickman fan, I'm also a Jason O'Halloran fan, but how good would it have been if he did the triple? Hickman, you know what I mean? His home circuit and everything. Now he's got the lap record around there, hasn't he now?
He has now, yeah. He just took it off Lee Jackson. But explain the Ryan Vickers things to people that won't quite get a grasp of it. Because in social media, was that on the Friday or the Saturday? No, it would have been Friday, test day. It's Friday or Saturday, I can't remember. But on, I think it was Friday.
It would have been the Friday, yeah.
So the up till this weekend, the fastest ever two-wheel lap around Cadwell Park recorded was Leon Haslam in qualifying. A good few years ago, he did a 26.0. And the fastest race lap, which is what lap records are, was Lee Jackson from a good few years ago, and he was on Smith's BMW, and he did a 1:26. I think it was somewhere around like a 1:26.3 or a 1:26.4,
right,
around that sort of time.
Yeah.
So Hickman just bettered it in one of the races, 1:26.3, which is the new lap record. But in practice, which I think it must have been free practice too, Ryan Vickers did the fastest recorded two-wheel lap, and it was a 1:25.8, I believe.
1:25.8.
First time in the 1:25s for two wheels. So absolutely, a stunning lap for people that do track. If you go on a track day, if you're doing anything sub 1:40, you'll be sort of passing you'll be passing most people on a track day doing like, if you're doing like say 1:38, 1:39, you usually, if there's no like races there, you'll be the fastest person on the track day. So think about what a gap that is from
That's
being
huge.
like fastest person on a fast group track day to that sort of pace. Absolutely unbelievable. And unfortunately, Vickers didn't manage to convert that pace. He had a huge crash in qualifying, Chris curve, so he come down the park straight, tight right, and then like a long fast right, and unfortunately ran out of track, went on the grass and had to bail off, and the bike, I haven't seen the crash, but the bike cartwheeled, and like pretty much every part of that motorcycle had to be replaced for the race. Team did a ridiculously good job to get that turned around.
What are the rules in Superbike? You have to use the same. What are the crash rules? Is it one bike one? You can't just wheel out another bike. Explain that to people.
One bike rule. So you can have sub-assemblies of things. So for example, you could have a full front end. You can have a full swinging arm built up ready. You can basically have. I don't know what the exact rule of what a sub-assembly is classed as, because if you could just if you built a big enough sub-assembly, it's another bike, isn't it? So I'm not sure what the cut off is, but what people usually do is build a spare bike and then split it off into parts, so they've got things ready. But yeah, they would have I think it was definitely a new frame, so engine out, new frame, and then basically new swinging arm, this, that, and you think of all the electronics and like to get everything right, and like the quick shifter working and this and that, to get everything right in what would have been, they must have only had like a maximum of 3-4 hours.
Never.
And they got that turned around. So absolutely hats off to them for that. Vickers was very badly beaten up as well, big crash, and managed to compete in all three races, and he was inside the top 10 all three. So not what he would have wanted, obviously, starting off the weekend with that sort of pace. I believe he had Frankie, who's Joan Mir's crew chief, who's Jake Dixon's personal manager.
All right.
I believe he had Frankie there working with the electronics, and that makes sense. If that is the case, that would make sense, because obviously, like, he's one of the best people in the world for like crew chiefing. So yeah, I think that's who used to set or help Jake when he was with RAF.
I was about to say,
back and helped Vickers, and they did the fastest ever two-wheel lap.
Because like, don't get me wrong when I say this, but like RAF have always been a strong team. You know, Lee Hardy's race team has always been a contender. But it's almost like, remember when Jake Dixon was chomping on the heels for that championship? He seemed to come good at the half end of the season. It's like what we were saying about the build base situation. Like, build base was so strong at the beginning. Remember when Bradley Ray and like Kyle Ride, they were absolutely whopping everyone at the beginning. It's mad. There's no distinctive answer to this, but it's like Lee Hardy's team seems to, like, the back end, because Ryan's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. But like, hey, you don't do a 25.8 for no reason whatsoever, and it seems to be coming good. It's a shame. It's just a shame because he clipped the grass.
Donington the weekend before, Vickers was his results didn't really reflect his pace.
That's what I mean.
One of the races he was on the front row, but he had to start last, and he came all the way through to he was like a second off the win or something. So he's really shown like a lot of promise.
Massive.
And without that crash, who's to say, like, what would have been possible? He clearly had as good pace, if not better pace, than anybody there. But unfortunately, this game's hard, isn't it? And you've kind of got to do as much as you can without smashing yourself up, basically. So it's a very fine line to cross. But yeah, riding brilliantly anyway, and I'm sure once he's back fully fit, he'll be back up to the front. Speaking of other crashes as well, did you see Taz Mackenzie's crash?
Oh, that...
I've actually just got it on here, actually, which I'll get Grace to put it on the YouTube, but just for our benefit. So
I'll tell you what, the first thing that's come on, can we talk about that briefly before you hit play here? Brad Jones, there's been an update, hasn't it, on Brad Jones?
Yeah, he's still in, I think it's the King's College Hospital, I think in London, but he's now breathing without assistance.
Brilliant.
So big step forward.
Brilliant.
And yeah, I think there's you haven't been at BSB for the last few rounds, have you?
I haven't, no.
There's a big presence in the paddock with stickers on nearly everyone's bikes, T-shirts, caps, keep fighting Brad. There's the whole community's very much got behind him.
Which is good.
And hoping for more positive news in the near future.
But
so we've got Taz coming through Hall Bends here.
And that's Josh Brooks behind him chasing him, isn't it?
Yeah.
He seems to be getting a bit stronger again, isn't he?
Just clips the grass there. And yeah, absolutely massive crash.
Jesus, what
do you know what, Taz, out of all the riders in superbikes, Taz is the best at using every inch of the track. Like, if you watch him anywhere, he's on the white line all the time. He's like, if you see pictures, he's inch perfect all the time. And at some point, it's got to, when you're going that close with the margins, and it's so unlucky. Like, I think everyone that's raced at Cadwell Park has dropped off onto the grass at that point, at some point. But unfortunately, I think with it being a wet grass,
that was it.
It came round on him like that. But yeah, Taz has been riding so well recently. He was king of Brands Hatch. I think it was like Monster Energy King of Brands. I think he was possibly up there. Did he get the most? Yeah, I think he got the most points at Donington as well, or definitely up there. He's been riding so faultlessly recently. But yeah, that's just one of those where the punishment doesn't fit the crime. And a big hit to his championship, but obviously with the showdown, it's sort of less important than it would be usually under normal circumstances. But it unfortunately broke, I think, at least one finger, maybe two.
That was big, there's just no runoff. It's got to be the tightest track.
Yeah,
safety-wise.
Cadwell's definitely, I would say, the most dangerous track that we race on in BSB, and just in terms of the barriers, they've over the last few years, they keep extending it by like a little bit. But if you, because we've always raced there, you maybe don't sort of think of it like that, but if you came from Europe and you came blind and you just wanted to see all the tracks as new tracks, you would definitely go to Cadwell and Oulton and be like, whoa, there's barriers really close and whatever. So yeah, really pleased to see him walk away relatively,
yes,
I know he broke his finger, but relatively okay, and obviously he'll be fit to live another day.
Speaking of injured riders, Kyle Ryde. Did he say he was having? I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to picture his post. He was saying it was an engine problem, and instead of going for because he's got you lads call them scooter brakes, which is a mental term. So you got the back brake and then the clutch lever very close to each other, because you don't need the clutch for every gear with the blipper system on the on the scooter bikes. So as Kyle, he's done such a fast rider, and he's grabbed the scooter brake instead of the clutch, and he's locked up, skidded, and come off. And he cracked his heel.
Yeah. So unfortunately, he missed the weekend, and James Hillier stepped in.
The return of Hillier. Where the hell? He's been in Dakar, and he bombing around in bloody sand pits. How did he get on? I'm scared. I haven't seen the races, but I'm scared to even look.
On superbikes,
yeah,
he was at the back, as you would expect, sort of last, or but him or Brian. No, I think he was behind Brian. I think,
but because I was about to say, I think it's been well over 12 plus years since he's been at Cadwell. And when was the last time we saw him on a bike? Must have been like a modern bike. Must be well over 2 years ago.
Yeah, he doesn't do a great deal, does he? So
that's outstanding.
Thrown in at the deep end, and it's tough. Even if you're riding every week, jumping on a BSB bike, it's at Cadwell Park's tough. But yeah, he was out there, and
that was convenient time, because his little lad Monty does that the O'Varley Cup.
So he was there anyway.
So I think he would have been there with his little laddie anyway. So it would have been just matching Alan going up to him going, is there any chance you got your levers wee, young? Like Kyle's had a bit of an off. All right, no bother. But Rich OMG rider, because obviously he's doing the roads with him, isn't he? So yeah, nice little bit of time in there.
That's it, yeah. And
lucky, unlucky, as they say.
The rest of the weekend, any other big talking points from Superbikes?
Superbike ride. Storm Stacey on that Stouff like blue, but that is that the Stouff bike? There's a thing here, yeah.
So the team, me and Storm are teammates.
Yes.
The Superbike side is sponsored by LKQ Eurocar parts.
That's the
in
one.
the blue, and then my side of the garage is green and yellow and sponsored by Stouff. So yeah, that it's. But I think the like secondary sponsors. So I've got LKQ Eurocar parts on my bike, and Storm's got Stouff on his.
Under one roof with different names.
Yeah, that's it.
Got you.
But
got you.
I've got to say, last couple of rounds, so Storm had by far his best weekend at Donington, finishing with a 6th place in the sort of damp conditions where I think they ran intermediates, and there was not many riders have raced on intermediates before, so it was like they were all on different tyres, and came through, rode brilliantly up and finished 6th. And he seems to have massively taken confidence from that and rode really well all weekend at Cadwell. It was his first time there racing a superbike at Cadwell, and all weekend just brought his times down nicely. He was struggling at one part of the track, but the rest of the part he was like as fast as anybody, really. And in that final race especially, he had a couple of, I think it was like something like 11th and a 10th or so around that. And then in that final race, he got a brilliant start, and he was just battling up at like sort of 6th, 7th, proper like having a go. Christian Eden, like top riders, you know, passing people, getting stuck in. Unfortunately, towards the end of the race, he lost a knee slider, so he couldn't get his right knee down. And then Skinner sort of lifted him through turn 1, and unfortunately he ran him off track, and he did crash. But that aside, I think
he's done. His confidence is there,
massively,
and thing is, so he's done the right thing throughout it. You know, when everyone just like prior was like, "Oh, here we go, he's going to crash his brains." Total opposite. He's done such the mature thing, and it's showing dividends now. And like
I've got to say as well, we've had Aaron Zanotti's just came into the team of the last, like started at Donington.
Say that after a few pints. Evans was a what?
Aaron Zanotti.
Evans Zanotti.
Raced in BSB for years. He
What's the name? Aaron Zanotti.
He started with Leon Haslam, and basically he's like top mates with Leon Haslam, and they raced all the way through the careers together. And Zanotti's raced in BSB for years, and then he had his own team. He had a few. Graham Irwin was riding for him last year.
Where's Graham Irwin?
He's not racing this year. He comes with Andy.
Sorry, great.
But Aaron Zanotti's joined the team, and as a sort of, I think it's a crew chief role for Storm, and he seems to have made a brilliant impact. Really, like I say, over the last few rounds, he's really taken off, and long may it continue. And good, all good for the team. Aside from that,
I've got another one. I've got another Superbike one. Tim Neave stepping up to the Superbike. What a job that lad did there.
Yeah, absolutely. Stepped up this weekend, got the call. Danny Kent dislocated his hip, I think, or fractured his hip.
Don't you have to have surgery to put a dislocated hip back in?
Someone's telling me this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jesus.
And so obviously Danny I presume he'll be out for a little while with that. But yeah, dream opportunity for Tim at his home track, and he did a sterling job all weekend in the points, I think, in at least 2 of the races, and just nice and smooth. Don't think he crashed all weekend, and just a really good solid job.
Oh God, I just hope the lad gets the job in the future. You know, he's definitely shown he can do it. 100% the lad can do it. So,
and also unfortunately Christian had a crash at Charlie's too. It's do you know, one of those things where like I almost didn't want to mention it on the podcast because he was on such a good roll.
It was unreal.
And it's sort of beyond belief really that you can race at that level, fighting for a British Championship in one of the most competitive domestic series, you know, right on the edge. And he did nearly 2 years of that without one single crash in practice or anything. But unfortunately, that got ruined by getting taken out. And then ever since then,
not even like taken out once. I think he's been taken out like 3 times. Is it 3?
Twice. Lee took him out, and there was the incident with Andy at Donington.
Yeah, there we are.
Been sort of taken out twice now.
This third one.
But unfortunately, he gambled on the tyre at Donington and had a crash at Craner Curves, and then unfortunately in the race there, first race he did great, just on the back of the group and sort of picked off a few riders. But yeah, second race it's one of those where you're just watching, they're all going sort of same speed, and unfortunately took the front. But I've got to say, do you know when you crash, the first thing that you think about really is sort of get away from the bike, because that's when you're going to hurt yourself if you get tangled with the bike. But when you push your bike away, it usually digs in and flips and causes like quite a bit of damage. Fair play to Christian. Every time, both of the crashes so far he's hung on to the bike to make sure it doesn't roll, to limit the damage to the bike, all the way down Craner Curves, and also both fast crashes. And he's braver than me. Like, I wouldn't do that.
That's a respectable lad, that mine, isn't it? You know what I mean? Good lad. Good lad.
But yeah, got back on and solid race in the third one. Other than that, people were more or less where you would sort of expect, I think. I'm just trying to think of anyone particularly sort of good. Jackson had a good, strong weekend. A couple of, I think it was
very good.
Fourths and fifths. Brooksy, like you mentioned,
he's woke up, hasn't he?
Brooksy was really good this weekend. Back looking much more like his old self. First race, I was watching the live timing and he had really good pace, but he didn't get away with the leaders. Where it's because of his pace, he qualified higher for the next one and sort of ran with them. And yeah, he was in the sort of mix for like fifth. I think he had a few fifths on Sunday. So yeah, he'll be chuffed to bits with that. I would just like to mention from my weekend, this lad I'd never spoke to him before, but I just want to say I was really pleasantly surprised with the lad that I'm just about to tell you. So in qualifying, you know what it's like at Cadwell, dead tight, all the bikes are like dead close together, and you've got to try and get a good lap. There's also the problem that you've got two pits, so people are coming out of pit lane at the bottom and they come out of pit lane at whole bends, and it's really difficult to string a lap together. And towards the end of the session, I was on a real hot lap, came over, basically got to like the last sector, and as I got to the mountain, there was a slower rider that I was coming up. And basically the way it worked was, he's called TJ Toms, as I caught him at the bottom of the mountain, there was somebody coming out of pit lane. So TJ had kind of seen somebody coming out of pit lane and sort of half backed off. But I was on a hot lap, so I went up the inside of him. And it's one of those where I tipped in underneath him, but he was like sort of half in the corner and had to sit up and ran on the grass. Unfortunately, he crashed and the session was red flagged for it. I just wanted to say, I popped around to see him afterwards and went up. The team were rebuilding the bike because it had cracked the frame, so it was a full proper evening of a rebuild. And it was G&S Racing. Do you know Mark Fisher?
Oh, aye.
Yeah, and TJ Toms. And I went up just to say, like, obviously I was partially to blame for the, obviously I didn't mean to.
No.
It's without me going up the inside, he wouldn't have crashed type of thing.
Yes.
So I just went up to see how they were and just to say, like, sorry for what happened. And I was half expecting, in that situation,
you're gonna get rinsed.
Anyone's going to be annoyed, and like I was expecting them to have a bit of a go at us, and I couldn't believe how mature and like what a respectable they were. I went up and just couldn't have been any nice. Obviously they were, not best pleased rebuilding the bike, but just very, very mature about it. Just knew obviously I didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
And I was like blown away with how.
Aye.
I'm trying to think of the.
I know exactly what you mean. You went in there thinking you're gonna get your head ripped off, and no, they understand it was a race. It's a racing incident, isn't it? A situation unfolded in front of you that no one expected.
Yeah, but I just want to say, I didn't know TJ before, but he like massively went up in my estimations. And,
there we are.
It's how I would like to think that's how I would deal with it. If it will happen to me at some point. So when it happens to me, I'm gonna try and deal with it exactly the same way.
I wonder if that's how Hutchie and Mossy got on.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, let's talk about
same
that.
Again. Hutchie's, you know what? Never taken someone out in 20 years of racing.
Shut up, man.
And unfortunately,
went for a good, honest move
up the inside, but unfortunately I think it was either on the curb or on the white line, just folded the front, and unfortunately Mossy was on the outside of him.
I haven't seen the race, but all I heard was Mossy wasn't best pleased. Well, he wouldn't be. It's adrenaline's high and everything like that.
Thing is, in the championship at the moment, the top 6 going into that race was separated by. So there was 2 people on joint first.
Can you rack off the top 6?
I can't remember before that. So there was 2 people on joint first, and then 1 point behind there was 3rd and 4th. So 4th place was 1 point off the championship lead, and then there was another 5 points back to 5th and 6th. So all the top 6 were separated by 6 points. And so obviously Mossy's, he's already missed 2 races at Knockhill when he crashed. Couldn't get the bike fixed for the next one, so missed 2 races there, and also had a mechanical DNF while leading at Brands Hatch. So to have another DNF, which wasn't his fault, obviously he's going to be furious about. But yeah, like I said, Hutchie would never mean to do it. It's just it's a racing incident, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that sort of puts us in a nice way, it puts us onto one of the questions that we had on our Patreon page a few weeks ago, which was about the inconsistency with the penalties. And from day one, I've always said it's okay, like a short-term thinking about penalties to get a situation solved in a day or in a weekend. But if you're a long-term thinker, once you set one penalty for something, you've just created a massive problem, which is the consistency thing. Because over race weekends, there's hundreds of races. There's always loads of racing incidents.
Yeah.
Or you're only going to dish penalties out to like the top few riders where like it sort of counts. Or if 30th place takes 29th place out, are you going to deal with it the same way?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. I've had a penalty this year.
To be fair, saying that though, you've said that, like I say, ever since I've met you, you've put
from day one.
Day one, literally day one. You've said this,
and for me, one of the main things to do with racing incidents is because if me and you are out on track and we're both, say, going into turn 1, you're coming up the inside and I'm on the outside line, and we'll both try and muscle each other out, and you and I end up going down for it. That's what a racing incident is.
Yes.
That's if I come off worse, it's not the organiser's place to like jump in and say, well, that wasn't. He's ended up with no points. You've got loads of points, so we're going to have to try and even it out.
Yeah.
It's if that's what a racing incident is, and obviously there's a line to be drawn, because if somebody does something on purpose,
actually, yes,
and I believe that there is a situation, but it's because, like, for example, that one, it was Hutchie's mistake. Luke Mossy crashed, so to even that out, are they
going to swap the points over?
No, are they going to try and like give Hutchie a punishment or give him penalty points? It's not. It's not. It wasn't a dangerous move. It was just an accident, and these things happen. But it's a really good point. There's been incidents like, for example, the Andy Irwin one, which was a 2-second penalty. I had a penalty earlier in the year, which was a 10-second penalty for the same thing. So why is one a 2-second penalty and one a 10-second penalty?
I know exactly what you're saying here. Yeah,
and I'm not just saying it because it's me. I'm just saying it's the inconsistency.
You'd think it'd be two. Yeah, it should be. If you're going to get punished, period, it should be 2 seconds across the board rather than 8, 7.
I won't go into details, but the organisers for my one, the organisers actually said if it was earlier in the race that it would have been a long lap, which is 2 seconds. So like, why? Because it was on the last lap, does it go to 10 seconds? It's difficult, and I just feel like there is a massive inconsistency. If you watch races, like for example the Storm Stacey one, Storm didn't do anything wrong, but he had absolutely nowhere to go. So should Rory Skinner get a penalty? But
did he get a penalty?
Well, I presume he wouldn't have, because it was a racing incident, which is what I think it should be classed as. And I think, I understand that organisers feel like they have that if somebody's getting paid to be there to do a job, they feel like they sort of have to try and make it safer and that sort of thing. And I do understand, but I'm not a big fan of just penalties. I think
there needs to be a system in place, like, for the safety element of it. That is the true side of it. But I totally agree with you that there needs to be a consistency system. But that's so difficult, isn't it? It is a difficult thing. But I totally agree that it does need iron out.
Yeah, it
totally needs ironing out. The fact of like you can't just be given 10 for one person, too. That
I'll give you a good example.
Needs that consistency.
The way the sport's changing, and I think it's for the bad with the increase in penalties. So my favourite ever MotoGP moment was when Rossi passed Seta Giovinazzo into the last corner of Jerez. Rossi went up the inside, basically give Giovinazzo nowhere to go but the gravel, and then pulled a big wheelie over the line. That to me was the greatest last lap in history. I just thought it was fantastic. It was amazing. Today, Rossi would have 100% got a penalty to put him behind Giovinazzo, and that to me.
But did Rossi know he was going to knock him off at that point?
Well, no, that's because it was a racing incident. The warriors on motorcycles going for victory on the last lap.
Yeah,
to me that's what the sport is about. But yeah, that would have definitely been given a penalty. And another thing with the penalties is it brings massive politics in, because if somebody, I won't get into it, but there's obviously a lot of politics in the sport, and it's opening up a massive can of worms as soon as you start giving penalties. And I'm not a big fan, to be honest. Like, I think they should be kept for very serious offences, and it should be very few and far between. But yeah, and
you'll get the job next year. You watch.
on the rant of penalties, it's exactly the same with over the last few years and I'm sure loads of people are sick of hearing it, but the green paint next to the track. They put it in at Thruxton. They've put it in loads of places. Alton Park, for example, a few years ago we had the curbs, and then we had either grass or like a rubber mesh or something which has less grip than tarmac, so that if you run off onto it, it's a disadvantage. It's a disadvantage. So there's no advantage to be gained, and therefore there'll never ever be a point of giving a penalty. Put it green. For some reason, they're putting green tarmac after the curb, which means go on that, and it then has to be like it's much worse for like Grand Prix level and stuff. But all the penalties to do with that, I think they do it for the cars, but it's ruining the bike racing. 100% should not have green tarmac on the other side of the things. Have like a proper thing, like either grass or a rubber mesh or AstroTurf or something less grippy than tarmac, and problem solved.
No, I agree with that, but then you've just hit the nail on the head, haven't you? It's the cars, isn't it? Yeah, but it's 100% the cars. But the thing is, they can't build two tracks, can they?
Yeah, but at MotoGP level or for BSB,
it's the same track, so.
Yeah, but putting some AstroTurf down in the same place wouldn't be a big deal with it.
I agree with that.
In terms of logistics, it's such a small thing, but it's ruining racing.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Imagine that next year. Then there's love AstroTurf getting wheeled out on the corners.
MotoGP at Austria, they had a thing where you got 4 offences, so you were allowed to run on the green 4 times over. Get rid of it, man. Just put AstroTurf down, or put like rubber down or something.
Go on, Chrissy.
And you think
tonight on Chasing the Racing, Chrissy's rants.
Proper tracks like Cadwell Park. There's none of this running on the green rubbish, is there? It's just grass.
It's shite.
It's grass. It's curbs and grass, and that stops you from
fucking it up.
I could rant all day about.
I think you should. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I've never seen. Go on, son. What else is pissing you off? Tell me your problems.
I tell you what. We'll run through my weekend at Cadwell Park. I've had a really bad weekend at Donington Park. Sort of lost our way a little bit with the bike setup, and I was really struggling. I felt like I was on the limit of crashing, and I was just disappearing from the leaders. So difficult weekend, but rather than throwing it up the road or making mistakes or whatever, I brought it home in the best I possibly could, which ended up being 8th and 7th.
Yeah.
So it still got a load of points, but we're miles off the leader. We're like 10 or 12 seconds off the win, which, bear in mind, I've been in Stocks 1000 since 2016. I've virtually never been that far off. So it was a bad weekend for us at Donington, but we made massive progress with the bike setup, and I must give a special shout out to my crew chief, who I work with very closely, and
Danny, isn't it?
Yeah, Danny Wright, and we changed the bike massively from the free practice one at Cadwell to the race and qualifying. We made massive progress, and we ended up leading a lot of the race, or like a good chunk of the race. We had 2 stints because it started raining halfway through, but I qualified 8th. I think it was my best ever lap, Superstock lap, which was a 28.7 in qualifying. So can't complain with that. I was about a 10th off 4th on the grid. And got a belter start straight up to first position from 8th on the grid. I got
to first.
Yeah, I just nailed everyone around the outside, and as we tipped into Charlie's one, I couldn't believe me luck. I just straight up the inside. So yeah, led. Ended up leading like a good few laps, but and then yeah, I think it was about lap 4, lap 5. The rain came down and it got red flagged. So I was P2 on the grid for the restart. Got the whole shot again. And led, I think, about 5-6 laps, something like that. Had a real good scrap. Alex Olsen on the Fay-Ho bike. Tom Neve came past. Billy came past. And on the last lap, unfortunately, I got pipped again by Fraser Rogers on the Aprilia. So in the end, I was obviously disappointed to finish 5th, but sort of taken just the result away from it. I was 2.4 seconds off the win, which from where we were the week before was
a massive improvement.
Yeah, massive improvement. And just all around, the bike felt way better. It was just a much more positive weekend.
Good.
And yeah,
good.
It was really nice to lead, like, especially leading a Cadwell with such a massive crowd there. There was like a real buzz in the air. It was brilliant. Yeah, that first start was probably like the highlight of my season.
I can't wait to watch it. I've heard all about it. I actually haven't watched it. I can't wait to see it.
It was good.
And in the great words of Piggy, did he have fun as well?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was a good weekend.
I tell you what, fair play to Tom Neve, man. That Honda's getting stronger and stronger again. It's looking good. I think it's looking really good.
I think it's more Tom getting stronger and stronger.
No, both of them. You know what I mean? It's the fact that,
package,
of course, the package. You know, Tom is doing an outstanding job. It really is.
I mentioned it earlier about the top 6 in Superstock this season being like ridiculously close, and everyone seems to have had either crashes or bad luck at some point as well. So the way it's sort of evening out. The first couple of rounds, Taylor and Billy looked like the untouchable, and then all of a sudden, who was it next? I think, Rogers came through a win at Knockhill. Then Luke Mossy just started dominating and looked like he was going to run away with it. And then Olsen just started making it look easy and just dominating and just leaving everybody. So then it looked like Olsen was going to just, win it easy. And then recently, both Tom Neve mainly, and also Rogers is coming on strong. So yeah, it's all mixing up, and every weekend, one is like the person who's winning the week before is then like 6th or 7th or 8th the next week, and it's just all over the place.
Where was Taylor McKenzie in this race? I was looking for the results. Where was he in that?
So as we pulled away for the warm-up lap, Taylor's had a mechanical, basically his bike just pissed loads of water out, so I'm not sure what broke, but not his fault. So yeah, he was really unlucky. But like I say, look, like everyone's had sort of mechanical DNFs or been taken out or whatever. So yeah, everyone's thing. So yeah, really good racing to watch anyway. And like you said, Tom Neve came through and took the win. He also broke the Superstock lap record in qualifying with a first lap in the 27s.
Mint.
Stunning lap.
Hell of a job, Tom. Hell of a job.
Yeah, very strong.
Okay, before we move on to the Supersport, which has just gone mental, it is great to see the Padgett's team back. Davey Todd, unfortunately, has got the C word, COVID. So he was actually supposed to make another debut back with the Padgett's team, which is looking interesting for the future with the TT-wise, being back on the Padgett squad. But Connor Cummins, what a performance. He's another one like Hillier. He hasn't been on a bike for... He's been doing a bit of supermo and pissing on, but really, he hasn't been on a bike properly. I think on the old face tube there, he was saying it was around about 10 months.
Wow.
And like straight on the bike and straight up there. I mean, he put the times in. The lad can ride a bike.
I didn't actually see. How did he get on?
Not at the back. Far from it. I'm trying to remember the specific number, but it was outstanding. Considering he's just... all he's been doing is making coffee and eating pizzas. You know what I mean? He's done an outstanding job.
Yeah, good.
Absolutely outstanding job. I'm trying to think who else...
Croy was there.
Croy. For a lad who despises Pirellis, he was banging out 29 straight away.
He's quicker than me in FP1.
There we are.
I was trying to get a toe off my old boss.
How did you feel at that? I bet you're like, for fuck's sake. But there you go. But no, what a job he's doing. Yeah. What a job he's doing, because he's on that new BM. This
No,
made
he's
me-
on his old one.
He's on his old one because I was about to say he did Armoy for the first time. He took a brand new Alpha BMW to Armoy. I think, what are you doing? It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back looking like a motocross bike at Dorsey Pillock, man. I'd never say that to his face, obviously, but
He unfortunately just missed out on the points. I think he finished 16th in the end. But
That's mint.
He good weekend for him, and good to see him at BSB.
And right, let's move on before we move on to like the Scott Redden thing of like World Superbikes and all that.
I'll just have a quick look. Yeah, well, let's have a quick go at Supersport. Harry Truelove, the best surname in the paddock, and by far some of the best riding I've seen. What a performance! And he is just backing it up. Not once, not twice, 3 times. He's backing this up. What a performance! Yeah, absolute domination this weekend, and fair play to him for all the. Obviously, I was sort of teammates with them, with both the Trueloves last year, and for the the effort that goes into that and all the passion that the family have got. It's really nice to see it sort of being rewarded, and Harry riding superbly. Big shout out to Ali as mechanic as well.
Ali, he listens to this, so you'll have to give him a shout out.
Great people, and
that's the
riding
thing.
really well.
But that's the thing you were just talking about, like their Storm. He's got that bit of confidence. Confidence is beyond massive in this game. You know what I mean? And Harry is delivering on that. It's like Lee at the minute. Lee put it on pole at Donington, didn't he? He did in the Supersport, Donington Park. He's fluctuating a bit because he'll just go from up there down there, but he's still struggling. He's a bit, he goes, he gets his health back in line, then he struggles a bit and everything. Lee's doing a mint job.
In terms of the championship, it was a really good weekend for Harry as well because his main competitors, the top 2 in the championship, Perry and Kennedy, both crashed. Both big crashes in the
same corner,
exactly the same place. So in the first one, Perry went down, and it meant that Kennedy took a championship lead. And in the second race, Kennedy crashed in exactly the same place and properly smashed the bike up. It was like end over end over end. So Dave Tyson and that crew have got a big job to get that fixed. But yeah, it's one of those. It's the same place Christian crashed. So Cadwell, you come through turn 1, Coppice, you tip into Charlie's 1, you go over a crest, and as you start declining downhill, it's ripply, the tarmac. There's a big bump on the left hand side. You're asking a massive lean angle to try and pull the bike back to the corner, and just the way the tarmac is, it sort of sets off a little bit of a chatter, and it caught Perry out. It then caught Kennedy out in exactly the same way, and it's always a big crash there as well.
It's definitely brought the championship back down to them, hasn't it? It's definitely spicing up.
With Truelove doing the double as well. It's did they have 3 races? Sorry, did you say?
Was it 3?
Well, I thought Supersport.
I was literally flicking between my own races. I'm like, what the fuck is going on this weekend?
As far as I know, Supersport only have 2 races, don't they?
Normally they do, but it was anyway. It's spicing up, but it was just no. But hold on, I'm trying to think what Truelove's done. He won both Cadwell races, and he won a Donington, didn't he?
Oh yeah, that's what.
Bollocks! There you go, champion.
So he did the doublet thingy, yeah.
But that's the confidence leading on. It's mint. I tell you what, and also the good thing about leaving these things the last minute, Chrissy, is we always get the next scoop up straight fresh off the press. Bradley Smith, MotoGP star, is coming to Supersport Snetterton.
Yeah, I'll just get the article up here, but on the old UK Club Sport, a little shout out for Zoe, and Bradley Smith set for British Supersport wildcard with Spirit and Motorcorsa, who are the reigning GP2 champions with Mason Law, and they've also got Jamie Perrin riding for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bradley Smith.
Nesbitt had a crash this weekend as well. There's been a few crashes this weekend, hasn't it?
Yeah, quite.
And he's been dominating that GP2 class. He's been dominating.
I've got to be honest. If in terms of the GP2s, obviously like Grand Prix bikes, I think they've maybe got a stiffer chassis, slick tyres and stuff. I can see them being an advantage at sort of Silverstone, Thruxton, places like that. Come to Cadwell, I would definitely rather be on a Supersport bike.
Right, that's interesting.
They did have quite a few crashes. Dan Jones had a crash at the bottom of the mountain. I think Jake Archer had a crash. A lot of the GP2 seem to be going down.
Right.
But yeah, Bradley, go on.
What about Snetterton? Is that an advantage on a GP bike?
Snetterton's the perfect track to ride a GP2. So if Bradley Smith is going to get a result, he couldn't have picked a better track to go to.
Really?
It's very flat. Well, you've raced there,
I hate it.
It's very, very flat, perfect. I mean, like, it's the type of place where you were confident Scott Redden was going to win, because it's much more like a GP. It's like a mini GP track. But yeah, the 30-year-old, he's only 30, but he seems to have been like around forever, doesn't he? Bradley Smith, like because he was doing Grand Prix when he was just a kid. Racing the World Championship for the Aprilia Factory Squad class just last year, is set to race in a one-off appearance with the Ren GP2 class winning squad Spirit Motorcourse at the Snetterton Round in less than a fortnight. Currently competing in the ESBK Spanish Superbike Championship. I didn't even know Smith was doing that this year. He will race in next year's FIM CEV European Moto 2 Championship using the all-new Triumph-powered Spirit SP3. So that, I presume that team must be looking at CEV for next year.
Right, there we go. So no, it'll be good to see. I tell you what, having him on will be bloody brilliant.
He's had nearly 120 MotoGP starts across 8 years with 3 different manufacturers, including rostrum finishes and a runner-up finish in the all. I didn't even know he did that electric thing either, but in all electric 2009 Moto E World Cup. Do you know anyone that races in Moto E, by the way?
Nope, we'll have to get him on as a guest.
We do a motorbike podcast, and I don't know anything about Moto E. I like
how you asked me. I know Sweet FA, mate. I'd come to this show to learn.
The only news story that I can even think of about Moto E is when there was a big fire at Jerez. That seemed to be all over the news, but other than that, I never see any results or any.
And you need skips of water to drown the bikes in if there is a fire. That's all I know about them, but there we go. I'm trying to think before we move on. I'm looking through my list here. Right, going back to the road side of things. Craig Neve, Triumph.
Please do mention that.
Ducati Tri-Options. Craig Neve, what a boy, what a result, what a ride. Outstanding performance, mate, because that boy is being beaten half to death for the shit look stick. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the fact that he's won a British race is just mint.
It honestly feels like no time ago. I remember exactly where I was, and I was on the phone to Craig, and he just had a huge crash early this year, and honestly, speaking to him, I was thinking his season was a write-off.
Yeah. So
to see him come back, not only to be racing in the stock 1000, but to also do the Ducatis and to get a race win, I'm over the moon for him. Him and Mark Hanna and his dad and the rest of the team put a hell of a lot of effort in. They've got a fantastic setup, they've got all the bits and pieces. Craig really puts his heart and soul into the racing, and does a great job for all of his sponsors. And it's to see him get that win is brilliant. Unfortunately, he was another one involved in a racing incident. He unfortunately took out G-Cock and Sean Winfield.
You're joking.
In a thing.
I love it how we bigged him up so high, and now it's come
part of it, especially at Cadwell Park. It's so narrow, and it is a racing incident. And on the flip side, Craig got taken out by Lewis Rollo at Donington. Oh God, he sent me that video of that crash. That was so big. And you think, I don't want to get too political, but going back to it, like if that's not a penalty, but other things are, then I don't know what's what. But
yeah, mention it. I think you should go into it. What's your thoughts on that, Chrissy?
But same again though. He just keeps getting bad luck like that. He smashed his bike up for something that was totally not his fault. But yeah, to see him get a race win was fantastic.
A big shout out to Aidan Robinson for putting them back together. The fact that the confidence and trust, there it is, and it's just mint. Mate, if you are listening to this, I'm just well done. Mm-hmm. So well done.
Can I just on the penalty thing, very similar. Very, very similar in a very similar way to the way football's gone with penalties and with fouls and whatever. It's as the years have gone on over the last few years, they're getting more and more. So, like for example, if you bled a football at somebody in the box, like a few years ago, and they couldn't get the hand out the way, but the ball hits the hand, it would be you would use your discretion, and you would say, well, they haven't moved the hand towards the ball.
Aye.
But that's all changed. So if it touch, and it's absolutely, you know what it's like, where they stick a leg out and they literally dive over it and they get a penalty, and it's
I know.
To me, I'm worried racing's going to end up the same way, where it's going to be, people are going to edging people like an inch onto the green, and then they're going to lose the race for it, and you're just like, oh, come on, man.
As long as the checkbook follows, I don't mind if it turns into football, to be fair. There you go.
But
I know exactly what you mean, though, son. I know exactly what you mean. And I'm kind of looking at me me NGK spark plug sheet here of like lists of things here, and there's so much to fit in. But
right, I'll go straight on to
Worlds.
BSB.
No, BSB. I just think it's just mint.
On to Snetterton next round.
Snetterton and go. Yeah. In
a second, I'll get the championship up. But before that, we'll just quickly go for World Superbikes. The top 3 in World Superbikes are really breaking away from the rest of the pack in terms of they really are the cream. So you've got Top Rack Johnny and Scott Redden. In the championship, Top Rack and Jonathan are both level on 311 points.
When did that last happen? Well over 6 championships ago. I know that much.
What's that?
Wait, Jonathan Ray, has he won 6? He's won 6, hasn't he? They're not 6 in a row, though.
Yeah.
6 in a row. Mm-hmm. So it's been a long 6 years since anyone's been remotely near Johnny. Is that not fair to say?
No, Bautista was miles ahead of it, like massively ahead
at the beginning of the season. But like at this point, here we go. It's starting to get World Superbike's starting to get good again.
Yeah. The racing's fantastic, and they were at Navarra. And the in the 3 races, so race 1, Scott Redden won, Jonathan 2nd, Top Rack 3rd. In the Super Pole race, Scott Redden won again with Jonathan 2nd and Top Rack 3rd again. And then race 2, Top Rack got the win, followed by Scott Redden in 2nd and Jonathan Ray in 3rd. So yeah, all 3 of them are getting massive points there. But yeah, it's really are sort of separating from the rest of the pack. In the championship behind them, you've got Alex Lowe's on the other Kawasaki in 4th, Locatelli 5th, Ruben Rinaldi 6th, Tom Sykes on the BMW in 7th, Garrett Gerloff 8th, Michael van der Mark 9th, and round out the top 10, you've got Chaz Davies. No Hondas until you get down to 11th and 13th for Bautista and Haslam. And I've got to say, Locatelli doing a fantastic job, just up from Super Sport, and he's really taken it to the front, lads. So yeah, all good in World Superbikes.
But before you move on, I'm glad you mentioned that name, Tom Sykes. Now, am I correct in saying this, that he's been booted out by Scott Redden?
I'm not too sure. Now, in terms of the contracts, I'm not too sure. I have
no idea. There just seems to be a couple of things that appear and going on, like Tom Sykes saying, in my day, it was all about respect and speaking to people and stuff like that. I don't know what the hell's going on. A couple of things are floating around on the old social media. By the time this comes out, it's probably old news by then. But all we know is that Scott Redden has ditched Red to go to Munich itself, old Hans and Fritz BMW. How do you think he will get on? Be honest. Be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to be. In World Superbikes, Ducati are definitely, definitely have been much stronger packaged than the BMW.
Yes.
People are obviously BMW, Sean Muir's team and BMW in general are putting a hell of a lot of money and resources into trying to get a competitive package.
Yeah.
Because over the last few years, it really has been the Kawasaki, the Yamaha, and the Ducati as the 3 main, the 3 main manufacturers. So they couldn't, from Sean Muir's point of view, it's an amazing signing to get
massive.
One of the best riders on the BMW. But if you take Van der Mark was a race winner and a solid podium man on the Yamaha, and he's definitely not been as competitive on the BMW. You would say that like I just said, the Kawasaki, the Yamaha, and the Ducati are quite similar. With the BMW being behind them in World Superbikes. Like say, who's to say what's going to happen in the future? They're obviously putting a lot of money in development, so. Like look at KTM, for example, in MotoGP. They never used to be one of the main manufacturers, but with the finances, they can get there. Same as Suzuki. Suzuki never used to be anywhere and ended up winning the World Championship.
And obviously, Brad Binder having massive balls massively helps KTM.
So it's nothing's impossible, but in terms of the way things are right now, it would be a backward step in terms of the bikes.
Yeah, statistically, yeah.
But yeah, who's to say what's going to happen? It's definitely good for the sport in terms of excitement. It's if every single rider just stayed with the same team, it would get a little bit stale and a little bit boring. So it's good to sort of mix things up. But do I think, like, for example, going into this season, if you said what's Scott Reddin's chance against Jonathan and Toprak, you think, if he rides perfectly, he's got a chance. On the BMW, he's got, I would say, a less of a chance. So, who's to know what the plans are and what money's going into it. But right now, most people would accept that it's not a very controversial thing to say it is really a bit of a backstep at the moment. But yeah, good luck to them, and I'm big fan of the team, and I like Scott as well, and it's good for, it's nice to have lots of riders in the mix. I like Locatelli. I love Gerloff. I like to see new names going up there and taking it to the established riders. Look at BSB. Every week you've got somebody else. You've got somebody like a young rider or somebody taking it to people, and like there's the changing of the guard all the time. That's
racing, and we want to see racing. We don't want to see parades.
I tell you what, I'll just get the BSB Championship up. So Jason O'Halloran is dominating big time. Obviously, that domination gets sort of capped with the showdown system.
Yeah.
But at the moment, he's on 342 points, followed by Christian Iden on 223 points. Taron McKenzie's also joint on 223, despite missing all the racing this weekend. So that's just goes to show how strong he has been. Tommy Bridewell is 4th on 205. Peter Hickman is 5th on 200. Danny Buchan, 6th. He missed all of Cadwell Park due to knocking himself out in a massive crash at Donington Park. He's on 165 points, followed by Glenn Owen on the Honda, 154 points, and Lee Jackson rounding out the top 8 on 133 points. And remember, the showdown this year is top 8. So Jason's actually mathematically confirmed himself in the showdown already. Bradley Ray is just off Lee Jackson, so he's in with a shout. So is Vickers, Skinner, Brooksy and Irwin. They're all like relatively close. Once you get past Andy Irwin, you get to Gino Rea, who's 64 points. He's got his work cut out to try and get in the showdown.
And one of the best people over the mountain at Cadwell. By far, my God, very stylish.
He had at least 2 crashes this weekend, maybe more. But
you've got to suffer for art, Chrissy. You've got to suffer for art.
Yeah, he had a few. He was actually crashing at the bottom of the mountain as well. Speaking of crashes as well, Dean Harrison had
2.
One big one, but he had 2 in total.
And that's our Dean, that.
I've got to say, though, Dean's really taking the bull by the horns. He's riding much better than he has been at BSB. He's really pushing on, taking risks, not riding in his comfort zone. He looks loose, but he's really, putting it on the line to try and get results. So, and
it's working. He's getting top 10s and stuff like that, and it's working.
You've got to say, fair play to him.
Definitely, without a doubt.
So, sort of all BSB, we've talked about Classic, talked about World Superbikes, talked about Oliver's Mount. Just a quick mention to Scott Ogden, who's just won a race in the Spanish, I think it was the Spanish or the European Championship, one of the two, but it was at Jerez just this weekend, just gone. But yeah, massively high level. It's how strong the Spanish and the Italians are, especially over there. But yeah, Scott's got a really good ride this year for that Aspar team, and it would be great to get him on the show at some point. But definitely. In terms of British talent coming through, if you sort of like to spot young talent and follow them up into GPs, you would probably say Scott's our best chance at the moment to get into like the next sort of generation into Grand Prix. So keep an eye out on him. And go on, Dom.
I was about to say, we've got a Brit back on the brack in the MotoGP. We've got Cal Crutchlow on the return, haven't we?
Yeah, so Cal's been in for the last weekend, or maybe the last 2 weekends in the Petronas team.
He was at the back though, wasn't he? Like at the back,
filling in for Frankie Morbidelli. But this weekend he's actually stepping up into the factory team with Quattararo, and Jake Dixon has had a promotion for the British Grand Prix, so he's currently in the Moto2 Championship for Petronas, and he's stepping up into the MotoGP team to be teammates with Valentino Rossi. By the time this podcast goes
imagine having that.
By the time this podcast goes out, it'll be the Sunday night, so or the Monday after the Grand Prix, so this will be old news. But
and we've got Rossi coming on, which is massive.
It'll be an absolute dream opportunity for Jake. Like I said, I remember when Jake's first ever race on the tarmac in Super Teens, we were racing in the same race, and to see him go on to to do GPs, and then to get this opportunity is like an absolute dream come. I know what Jake's like, and it'll be an absolute dream come true for him. So yeah, wish like I said, by the time this podcast goes out, we'll know how he's done. But just if it's dry, I think he's massively got his work cut out, and you know, if he can sort of just learn a little bit and sort of, you know, get stuck in, but you can't really expect anything in the dry. However, I do
Let's
honestly
hope for
believe
a British summer.
if it's a wet qualifying or a wet race, I can guarantee he'll
be brilliant.
He'll either crash or be incredibly impressive. But I would tip him, if it's wet, I would tip him to do something quite outstanding.
And you're down there, aren't you?
I'm going to go, yeah. I'm going to pop down on Sunday just because it's Valentino Rossi's last British Grand Prix. And just from... I really just want to see that legacy out. From a kid, I remember going to the British Grand Prix at Donington Park, and just to see Rossi in the flesh was just... It's unbelievable, and I really feel like it is the end of a proper era, and I would love to. I've got to go down and see that. It's almost like do you know when footballers do like a testimonial match at the end of the career? That's sort of how I'm seeing it for Rossi. So I'm going to go down Sunday. But like I say, this will be old news once it's out. The racing at Silverstone's usually really good. If you remember the last time they raced there with it was Rins and Marquez, where it came down to a last lap scrap. So hopefully we'll have something similar, and really looking forward to that. Anything else for the MotoGP? Any other
MotoGP wise? No. I'm just looking forward to it.
And you're down at Anglesey the weekend
with Thundersport, and the DC lads. Haven't seen them in a canny while, so looking forward to catching up with them. So I think the field's 100% where we're completely in different classes. So you got Chris Barnes, he's on his Super Twin. You got Mike Norbury on the 600, and I'm riding the Dean's ZX10 there. So it's going to be good. There's going to be plenty of racing.
I'm really looking forward to seeing. I know Chris has got an Aprilia 660 on order for like the twin class. I'm really looking forward to see, because I've not actually seen one like in race spec.
But Dean Livesey.
Sorry, Chris
has ordered. Oh,
one.
He's ordered a. Oh, right,
yeah.
Brilliant.
So you order them from the factory as a race bike. So they come race spec.
Never.
And I can't remember exactly how much, but I remember he did tell us, and it was very reasonable for like a race bike.
Right.
So that's another bike to go into the Super Twin class. It's
brilliant.
At the moment, it's obviously dominated by Pattons and Kawasaki. So having another manufacturer come in it's interesting.
It massively opens the door. And Chris is a good pilot. He's a hell of a good pilot, and I think he's winning races at the Thundersport Super Twin. So
yes, he is.
He'll definitely put it through his paces.
And I'll come down to Anglesey. I would like to see how everyone's getting on. So I think I'm going to pop down there on Saturday. But like I said, by the time this podcast goes out,
this is all old news.
It's all news. So yeah, good luck. Is it on the full? Are you doing the corkscrew?
I have no idea. I'll ride out.
Are you a fan of Anglesey? Do you like it?
I've been twice. Loved it. I think it's one of those places that when the weather's right, it's outstanding. You know what I mean? You don't want to be anywhere else in the world. You know, when you got the sea view and everything like that. So I sound like I'm making that like a TripAdvisor review. Yeah, the sea view is outstanding in the evenings.
But the good thing about Anglesey is you'll get a real taste for. It's got a little bit of everything. So do you know, in terms of what we're talking about earlier about the tyres, you'll get a feel for the slow sort of tight stuff, and also there's really fast sort of sliding corners. So it'll be much more like the TT. So it'll be a really good.
This tyre test is going to be more fun.
In terms of, we say it all the time. I know it's logistically, Anglesey I don't think could be used for like say British Championship just because of the access road.
Yes,
but the actual track itself is absolutely outstanding.
Yeah.
So I hope you have a really good weekend. Looking forward to seeing you down there on Saturday. And the next bit, we've got one weekend off, and then the BSB's back to Snetterton, and we've got Snetterton Silverstone back to back, and then we've got 1 week off. Then we've got, I think it's Oulton, then Donington, or Donington Oulton, I can't remember which way. 1 weekend off, and then Brands Hatch, and it's the last race of the season, which is just mad how quickly it's gone. Before we close off, we've got a few Patreon questions. So first of all, we've got Ash White asking, what about some rider team predictions for 2022? So have you heard anything is it too early to start the rumour mill?
I've got nothing fresh for the rumour mill, to be fair. As far as rider selection, it's all just been too busy to actually know what people are doing.
Yeah, in terms of BSB, I'm not just saying it. I don't actually.
I have heard nothing.
Usually, you get like a few.
You get a few whispers and stuff.
Have you heard so and so signed for so and so or whatever? But so far, I've not actually heard anything.
And on the road side of things are just moving naturally and very early on. So people, there's nothing. So we're not getting anything fresh, kids. I can only apologise.
I'm sorry to disappoint Ash, but hopefully we'll have some soon. We've got Daniel O'Brien. No questions from me as you're answering my penalty one. That was Daniel's question about the penalties earlier, which was a great question. Good topic.
Shame we didn't answer it.
Just a message to say well done at Cadwell, Chrissy, and hope you're both well. Thank you very much. So Paul Watson, the title it, 2 guys, 1 pod, and I think that's a great title for this one. So we'll go with that one. Talk us through that whole shot, Chrissy. Amazing stuff. Well, thanks very much. We've already done that one. Steve Jacks, how about chasing the race and get together at Motorcycle Live at the NEC in December? Great call. We'll see. A few of our sponsors will be doing different things there, I'm sure. So I'm sure we'll get something sorted for that. And
now that the pubs are open, we'll have to have a little fundraiser ourselves. Get everyone round, all our patrons and all the fans and stuff like that. That'd be mint crack, man.
Nice to catch up, wouldn't it? And Jesse Mortimer, question for you both: how do you go about sorting rides for the following season? Do teams approach you, or is all a bit like in the schoolyard? That girl over there fancies you, etc., etc.
It's full Jehovah pet. You go door knocking,
and you meet through third parties. Like, is it possible to talk your way into a ride? Good question, really good question actually. It depends what level you're at, and people do it in all kinds of different ways. Lots of people, like say in British Superbikes, in the elite class, like the Superbike class, have management or at least representation. So for example, Shaky and Matt Roberts manage Bradley Ray and a few other riders. There's various people that like sort of advise and manage different riders. So like they would speak to they would have a conversation with the rider, and depending on, like, say if their contract's running out, they would obviously speak to the team that they're with and see what's available for the next year, but also speak around. I'm pretty just off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure Taron McKenzie hasn't renewed his contract yet. So let's just take Taz for example. Taz, I presume, will have a manager who will basically be speaking, and he'll be like, say, going to Paul Bird, and be going to
all of them,
Philip Neal, and going and basically see like my rider's possibly looking for a ride. What's your offer, basically, and that's sort of how it works. In the lower classes, so it's say in stock 1000, it's very much more I guess you're less chance to have like a manager obviously as you go down the ranks, and it's more just speaking just getting chatting to people. In the past, like for example, for me, I've like sort of been introduced, so like the team I'm with now, sort of introduced through a friend of mine. And we just ended up getting start just chatting on the phone, and then we'll have a meeting and that type of thing. But yeah, we've had all different ways, but yeah, it's usually along those lines. For the roads, I presume it's very similar.
Yeah, it's exactly the same, to be fair, Chrissy, you know what I mean, but without the management. Just see what's there, and it's especially with the road side of thing, experience talks and sort of results, it's all about your lap times and everything like that, so you've just got to work your way up the ladder as such. So
for example, for me last year, after winning the championship last year, I was obviously looking for a superbike ride. So it was a case of like ringing, and I like spoke to teams that had seats available, like that weren't filled yet. And it's just a lot of the time it's a case of you sort of checking in with them, letting them know you're available, and if they're interested in like a meeting, then you can sort of take things further, and you kind of, what do you expect from me, what do I expect from you, that sort of thing. For some teams, it's kind of they pick up the phone and straight away it's, what can you bring to the table? And it all varies depending.
It's a hell of a game we play. Nothing's black and white in this game. 100%.
But at the end of the day, it's like lots of things. There's teams that have big financial sponsors, but as part of that, they sort of need results. And then there's sort of lower end teams that have less financial help, less financial sponsorship, so therefore they can't afford to pick the best riders. So then they have to sort of settle for lesser riders who either accept less money, or even if you keep going down, the riders have to pay to be in them teams. So it's like a structure, but like obviously the most well-funded teams have the pick of the best riders because they can pay more money.
They've got the cheddar.
It's
Talks,
quite obvious like how it works.
Cheddar talks.
And yeah, I think I'll just refresh in case we've had any new Patreon questions, but I think that'll round things up nicely.
And before we go, Ryan Whitehall's made it home. So
fantastic.
He's back from Belfast. He's back at home drinking cider and doing whatever he's doing. So it's good to see. You've no doubt listening to this, and it's good that you're home, son. Very good that you're home. But
we've had Mark Reynolds.
So they are Captain Collarbone. How we doing, son?
So I've got 2 questions for you both. One, Chrissy, Dom, Andy Irwin, Cal Crutchlow, John McGuinness, Pedro, I don't know where this is going, Pedro Acosta, all on identical Kawasaki Z900s from Colchester Kawasaki. I like it, Mark. Nice plug. 25 laps around Cadwell Park, motocross style start. Who would win? Let me think. On a Z900. Do you know?
I'll get the whole shot because I wouldn't stop for the first corner, just to have me moment.
I would. Usually, I would always back myself, but I'm thinking Pedro Acosta is probably the best rider there, but he wouldn't know where to go at Cadwell Park. It's a difficult one. Who would you go with?
All I'm imagining is me whole shot knocking you all off. That's all I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I tell you, I haven't really got an answer for that one. I'll just get stuck in, do my best. I think I would if that was the case, I would either win it or bin it. I think
that would be a hell of a race. That might. Well, Mark, you've got deep pockets, son. If you want to set that up,
I would either win it or I would take whoever's down with us.
Good lad, man. Good lad.
So number 2, how deep do you reckon the hole Dean Harrison is digging to avoid coming onto the parties? I haven't actually asked him for ages.
No, he doesn't want to be on, does he?
Don't think.
No, don't. Wait, he keeps. No, wait, look, if he wanted to be on, he would have been on by now. But don't get me wrong, if he wants to come on, we're going to open. Like, the door's always open for him, 100%. Yeah. But if he doesn't want to be on, up to him.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
We'll get a cardboard cut out of it, and then we'll just sit him next to her and just go, so what do you make of this, dude?
We've actually got I've got a list on my phone of all the guests that have said I would like to come on, but we just need to set dates, and
this time of the season, man. It's just a bloody nightmare,
especially with the BSB calendar at the moment. It's so jam packed, but we have got some really, really good guests from all walks of life, and
I've enjoyed this though. So it feels like ages that we've done this. Actually, just sat down and dribbled on about motorcycles. It's been good, no pressure, no kissing ass, no nothing. It's just been good crack. So
back to the olden days.
All days, son. All days. There you go. Just knee bull mastiff. There you go.
And obviously, massive. We'll just say I've seen quite a few of the Chasing the Racing caps at the weekend. So
you've been handing them out for free again, have you?
No, I haven't. Purchased ones. So yeah, it was really nice to see some hats and some phone cases and stuff. Really appreciate that support. And if you would like anything, head over to chasingtheracing.com, and there's a merchandise section which you can get a few bits and bobs. It's coming up woolly hat season, so maybe treat yourself to something like that. Really appreciate that.
Nice.
If you see some people get in the habit of either listening to this as an audio, so like when they're driving, or watching it on YouTube, but would really appreciate if you go over to YouTube, subscribe, and there's like a little bell that you get notifications when you get a new one, and if you want to leave us a 5-star review on like some Apple Podcasts, that would be very
only 5-star reviews. This is going proper back in time.
Be very grateful. Just before we go, if you comment on this YouTube video, you've got a chance to win a Parker Chasing the Race and a Parker pen. And like I said, I think there's only me, Dom, and I think we've given 2 away in 2 giveaways. So they're very limited edition, but they're they are actually, I use mine every single day. So it's a lovely Parker pen engraved with Chasing the Race. And all what you have to do is comment on this video. So really... I guess that sort of wraps things up.
It does wrap things up really nicely, to be fair. So no, I'm looking for. Just looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to it. No, I've thoroughly enjoyed this, Christopher.
Yeah, me too.
Very, very much enjoyed this. Very much enjoyed this.
Big. Can I get this back in the box now? Big thanks to our patrons. We've actually had we've had a few questions recently about becoming a patron, and basically it's like a
£1,000 a month.
We've got three things. It's either something like £2 a month, £5 a month, or £10 a month. But you basically get to ask guest questions. We'll have like sort of live stream things. It's a bit of a community, really.
Well, that's it. And £10 a month, you actually get to go on a date with Chrissy. So if you want to put your money where your mouth is, get it done.
It really helps us out, and it means that we don't have to run any sort of adverts in the middle of our YouTube videos and stuff.
Yes,
So yeah, really appreciate all of our patrons and the support, and obviously our sponsor Colchester Kawasaki. Massive thanks to them.
Your personal sponsors? I would like to thank. I'm going to personally thank the 130 Club and all my personal sponsors. And what about yourself? This is the opportunity to us to say it. There you are.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Colchester Kawasaki as well, keep your eyes closed. Keep your eyes closed
for any advertising.
We might be doing something like a live event at some point. We might be doing a Chasing the Racing live event at Colchester Kawasaki. So we'll obviously post it all over social media if we do get that sorted. But I think that wraps things up lovely.
Mint.
And we'll get a podcast done maybe at Anglesey or sometime this week. But looking forward to catching up very soon.
Take care, son. See you in a bit.
Cheers, everyone. Take care.
Click, buy, deliver. With remote purchasing from the 2-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.